Ultimate destruction.
What you're looking at right now is Geometry Dash today. You have a near endless amount of content, customizable icons in the triple digits, hundreds of thousands of levels, and a ton of things to do. You can star grind, collect user coins, or maybe even take a shot at building your own level and try to surpass Vibrant in the creator points. Maybe you can try to collect some mana orbs for some icons, or some diamonds for some loot. Maybe you want to try to get all the goodies from the vaults and beat their challenges. Maybe you just want to make videos on it and focus less on the game entirely, like what Juniper and Colin do. There's months and years of content that you can play in this little game that's worth the same amount as a pack of gum. Its community, replayability, and love for it is unmatched in its genre. Geometry Dash truly is great. I'm not talking about that though. To get on track, let's take a time machine back to August 13th, 2013. This is the soft launch of Geometry Dash, GD 1.0 to be specific. There are 7 levels you can play, a shallow creator tab, and under 15 icons to choose from. Really, the game did come from humble beginnings, but because of that, it gave it a lot of growing room. Robert Topala was just then giving the crown as the pilot of a soon-to-be superpower on the App Store. But before we go far, let's take a look at the first level you'll play, Stereo Madness. Stereo Madness is the first of 21 levels, but in 1.0, this is the first of only 7. The premise is simple. Try to survive the gauntlet of hurdles that the game throws at you. There is a catch though. Enter the ship mode. This game mode is how Geometry Dash is separated from any normal Impossible game clone. A game that came out all the way back in 2009. The way this game got its name was through its uniqueness. And nothing shows that more than Rob Top's flagship edition, The Ship. Easy, right? Well, at this point, yes, it is. There's very little obstacles here, it's just the game trying to let you get a grip before they throw anything hard at you. Well, less to say it's not hard. Now that we've gone through Stereo Madness together, I'll explain what makes these 7 levels so important to the game. All 7 of the original levels that you see here show and elaborate on new features that the game has to offer. Back on Track introduces the jump pad, a new feature exclusive to the game in which if you make contact with it, propels you up in the air. The third level, Polar Guy, shows you the jump orb, in which if you touch it, gives the icon a second jump. It works with the ship mode too, but the ship jump pad combination isn't used in any official level. Dry Out, the 4th level, introduces the Upside Down portal. While this isn't new by any sorts, being used in the Impossible game all those years ago, it's refined where instead of the screen being upside down, the icon's gravity is reversed instead, making the game mechanics much more flexible than the Impossible game. And Base After Base, Can't Let Go, and Jumper are levels of review, which test your skills in each level in very different ways. All of these levels mean something to the game. Without one level, Geometry Dash would feel more empty. Every single one of these levels tests how good you are. It's a gradual ladder that most games fail to have. No level is easy, and hardly anyone has an easy time beating one of them if played in order. The difficulty, the visuals, the seemingly awe of talent needed to beat these 7 levels is what makes Geometry Dash what it is today. Something that many game developers, especially mobile game devs at the time, didn't understand was that if you wanted to keep your game afloat long term, you need to keep the game fresh via new content. I talked about how empty Geometry Dash was earlier in the video, but because of that, it left multiple opportunities and directions that RobTop could steer the game to. Just a month later, in September of 2013, RobTop released his first major update, Update 1.1. The update was small, yet important. RobTop created a new free version of the game called Geometry Dash Lite, and introduced a new 8th level Time Machine. Time Machine, being granted the hardest level in Geometry Dash to this point, says hello to a new game mode, the Mirror Portal, which has been the least used portal by RobTop as of making this. Instead of obstacles coming from the right, they come from the left. The biggest thing to come from 1.1, however, would come from a patch which introduced the Geometry Dash community to every play. This service, which would replay the levels you've beaten, birthed the best Geometry Dash YouTubers there is. If you see someone relevant in the community, they can always be traced back to every play. Since the game was only on mobile, this was the only way to share your playbook. Everyone started here, the humble yet packed mini mobile streaming service. Let's keep the ball rolling. With RobTop's known reputation at this time for rapid-fire updates, another month later, 1.2 was released with more icons, colors, and a new levels, Cycles, which is one of the most important levels in the game's history. Up to this point, the only 2 game modes are the cube and the ship. In 1.2 though, RobTop introduces the player to the ball mode, where if you click on the screen, it changes gravity, but at the cost of you not being able to jump normally without a jump orb or a jump pad. This gave the game the variety it needed to keep it afloat, and as per tradition, Cycles is by miles the hardest level in the game. Personally, I think it's almost equal to the hardest levels that would come into the future with all the triple spikes. Fortunately though, after these 2 levels, RobTop would chill with the triple spikes that would make the difficulty harder by other means. 1.2 though, while very small, is one of the more important updates in the game's long history. In another 2 months, 2 updates in 1.3 and 1.4 launch. While these updates weren't massive per se, they were huge for what was then a small niche in the game's community, the building community. Today, you see these amazing masterpieces that take months, if not even years, to create, complete, and verify, but as I mentioned earlier in the video, from the game's release all the way to 1.3, there was no room for uniqueness in the building area due to the limited tools. Until this update release, that is. Now there are different blocks you can make, different decorating tools, and along with that, a new fun feature called Secret Coins, where RobTop went back on every level and placed 3 coins for the player to collect that were off to the beaten path. If you collected enough coins, you'd be rewarded with some icons or maybe even new colors and even demon levels. Update 1.5, which released in January 2014, introduced a yet more decorating features, accompanied with a new game mode, the UFO, a game mode to fit in the same category as the cube, ship, and ball, along with the first iteration of Theory of Everything. But 1.6 was the update that completely changed the game. 1.6 released in March, but gave a new level, Electro Man Adventures. The level introduced some minor things such as breakable blocks, but nothing special really. The real surprises come in Club Step. Remember those secret coins I was talking about before? If you collect 10 of these coins, you'll unlock the first ever demon level, Club Step. At this time, Club Step was a beast never seen before, miles harder than any other level that came before it, and showed players a brand new difficulty that would change the game tenfold, the Demon. Club Step didn't introduce anything new, it didn't have to. All you had to do was beat it, and that was no easy task for players. It was hard, rough, difficult, and unfair at times. Only the best of the best could beat this behemoth of a level. Only the best players could beat a demon. Now, people have hundreds of thousands of demons completed, and they don't even mean much to people now. But back in 2014, if you could beat a demon level, you were a god among men. On your account, there was an entirely new meter showing how many demons you've beaten. Now, instead of stars, people looked at your demon count to see how good you were. Now, if you've beaten a lot of demons, that showed how much skill you had now, not stars. Demon levels completely changed the game, and would introduce many new levels that touched the realm of impossibility, all thanks to this one level, Club Step. RobTop would release update 1.7 and 1.8 later, and while they showed what RobTop could do and his skills as a developer, they weren't as important to the game as other updates were. Sure, they introduced many new decorations that would suddenly lunge the builders into its own different community, it didn't change the game as we knew it. Even in new levels like Electrodynamics and Hexagon Force, while welcome new levels, didn't make the big mark that Club Step did. While the updates were still rolling out fast, Geometry Dash was starting to lose steam. Then RobTop changed. He changed his model on how to make updates. Instead of chugging out fast but yet low quality updates, he put all of his time and effort to make one huge project. One update that would take the entire game from another cool mobile game to a mainstream PC game. After a little under a year, RobTop made a masterpiece. He made 1.9. Geometry Dash changed on November 9th, 2014. 1.9 was released, and it was huge. There was 2 new levels, Blast Processing, a beautiful level compared to the other 16, and it introduced one of the most popular game mode attractions that the game has ever seen, the Wave. The Wave, currently called the Dart at this point, was widely popular and had been used in more online levels than any other game mode. Even to this day, there's far more icons and colors, so many that there even needed to be a second page made for the icon templates that you could use. That wasn't all the update had to offer though. A rival second demon to Club Step in Theory of Everything 2 was created, with 20 secret coins needed this time, 10 more than Club Step. The level took everything the Clubstep had and multiplied it all by 10. The game modes that came from 1.6 to current 1.9 are used here. The speed changes from 1.7, the dual mode or the slopes from 1.8. This level had it all, and even a cheeky introduction to the mini wave, a feature from 1.5 at the very end to throw you off. All in all, 1.9 changed the game. Before Update 1.9, Geometry Dash was exclusively a mobile game. There was no way that you could play it without using some sketchy mobile game to PC app that was more than likely a virus. In Geometry Dash Update 1.9, RobTop made the big step to add GD to Steam. This wasn't small, big, or even huge. This was enormous for the game. Over 95% of the players that are recognized today play on PC. Due to the frame rate increase, the accessibility for people to play it and record it compared to mobile, and it was just easier to play. Now, instead of tapping the screen with your finger, you can use the mouse, spacebar, or even the up key. The game was faster to process too. Quickly, the mobile version of the game became obsolete. Despite this though, the majority of people do start out on the mobile version of the game, but transition to Steam to get better at the game. The pre-Steam era was a different time for the game. Now with Geometry Dash moving to PC and RobTop now focusing on the limits of the PC version instead of the mobile version, the game will never be the same after 1.9. Remember when I said that RobTop would start taking his time when he made updates? Well, this was the first time where that was apparent. Despite the name Update 2.0, it wasn't Geometry Dash 2 like some people thought at the time, but rather a new update that would add more content than ever seen before. With a new game mode, a new level, and a new demon level, Deadlocked, which would take 30 coins to unlock and complete, it added new triggers such as movable objects, an alpha toggle, and many more things that would change the creating scene. Overall, this update was massive, but people were wondering if it really was worth the wait. People started asking RobTop if he could go back to making smaller updates so the community could get more fluid content. People weren't happy that it took barely under a year for it to develop. RobTop did promise, and he said that the next update, Update 2.1, would be a smaller update, and then he'd go through making more consistent updates compared to 1.9 and 2.0. Now, we all know that he didn't go through with it, and the community that RobTop built up would go through another long process in order to get the next update, 2.1. When I said that the wait for Update 2.1 was long and grueling, I wasn't lying. This became a new problem for RobTop, and the community was starting to disintegrate. You could say that the loyal fans should have stuck until the bitter end, and that their faithful developer was still working hard on the game. And to that, I say Update 2.0 came out on the 26th of August, 2015. When did 2.1 come out? January 16th, 2017. Geometry Dash didn't receive any major update in over a year. The community was as big as ever, the game was doing amazing, but the updates just stopped coming. Granted, 2.1 did come out, and it added so much more than anyone could have asked for, but people stopped looking at the content and started looking at the developer and how unhealthy he was treating his game. People asked if he'd hire someone to help work on it for him. There was even a short rumor that the developer of a rival game would help him out after a troll tweet he posted saying that he was willing to help. RobTop declined. It's become obvious that the content blockage has stopped for a reason, and just recently, RobTop answered some questions and said this about the content flow and why it stopped.
It's a bad cycle because I add stuff and then it takes long and expectations get higher, so I add new stuff. And I thought this is cool enough, and then I have a lot of new stuff.
This shows that Rob Top at least knows his problems, and that's the first step to fixing issues. He also claimed in the interview, which will be in the description, that progress to the update is very close, though he said on Twitter that he only just now started working on the new level, so take that information as you will. Update 2.2 still isn't out after 3 years of nothing. The community is growing impatient on his lack of progress, but they're still tightly knit together and hope that 2.2 will come out soon. That's as much information as we have when I'm writing this, but hopefully someday you'll watch this and we'll all be enjoying the new update that Robert Topala has to offer. Geometry Dash, against all odds, made it big. A small, impossible game clone kept up with what people wanted, and it came out on top of everyone's expectations. I started playing in 1.9 after I saw a friend play it all the way back in 5th grade. I saw him trying to beat Theory of Everything, and little 5th grader Lation loved it so much that I downloaded Geometry Dash Lite and eventually the full game on my iPhone 4. Soon after, I got the Steam version, and I haven't looked back since. I don't play the game as much as I did anymore, but I've seen just about everything that there was to see, and it's been quite the journey. And to Rob Top, since you're probably watching this video, thank you so much for making such an amazing game that's made whole careers out of people. We all appreciate it. So, what's next for Geometry Dash? Well, 2.2 is coming really close, and we'll more than likely see it in the first half of 2020. The destiny of the game lies in Rob Top's hands. Only God knows if it'll end up well or not, but I'll remember Geometry Dash for those first 7 levels that reeled me in. And that is Geometry Dash from 1.0 to 2.2. Hello everyone, post-editing Lation here. I just wanted to say right before the credits that there's a new level on my Geometry Dash account called Lation, and the level is called Ultimate Destruction. It's the level that you saw at the start of the video by Rob Top, which is an unfinished and unreleased level that was used in the very first trailer for Geometry Dash back when it was called Geometry Jump actually. And yeah, it was the first thing you saw at the start of the video, and it was originally just about maybe 30 seconds, and it was never finished, but I made it into a whole 2-minute and 40 something long level to commemorate the video, and so you could get the full experience about guiding through every single update in order and the future of it. And I'm very, very happy about how the level turned out just as much as the video, so I'd be really happy if you all check that out. The ID of the level will be in the description. It won't be in the video because it wouldn't be out by the time I'm speaking right now. It'll be out at the exact same time that the video comes out, but maybe in the pinned comment you'll see the ID of the level so you can go ahead and play it. Now, anyway, enjoy the credits. Toodaloo!
Ultimate